200 million, I think they were actually paying in order to actually enforce and make sure people are actually paying the license fee in the first place. And so I think that's one benefit actually of changing the ownership and the funding of the license fee with the BBC, is because that team would no longer be required. That money could be spent elsewhere.
I think that the view of the BBC from those of us in commercial broadcasting is that they've got this sort of, I don't know the right way to describe it. They don't need to, if you like, justify what they spend their money on. They don't need to justify their programmings. It doesn't matter if stuff is rubbish. You know, they'll do a series about somebody on a longboat going around Alaska canals or whatever it is. I don't know, something really inspiring. There's going to be somebody who likes Alaska canals ringing us up now. But what I'm trying to say is they've never, it seems to me, had to justify anything. They pay exorbitant amounts of money. They spend all this money on infrastructure, it seems, and nobody is there to challenge them. I do think Nadine Dorries, the new culture secretary, is going to have a big part to play in this, because she's very, very against all that sort of stuff, and she's made that abundantly clear. And I think actually what you've said today, the culture minister, is going to be somebody who I would think would listen to that very favourably, don't you?
I mean, I certainly hope so. The BBC's current charter runs until 2027. So in terms of the licence fee ending before that, that seems very unlikely. But I would hope that, given our report out today and the fact that the BBC's midterm review is up in 2023, so not long away now, that the government would actually pretty much get the train in motion, really, about replacing the licence fee with what we've proposed. And
how much do they make? How much do they make a year, the BBC, from the licence fee in total?
So in total revenues, the BBC had 5 billion last year. Of that, the licence fee makes up 3.75 billion pounds of that. That's a lot of taxpayers' money.
3.75 thousand million pounds paid to that organisation. That, I mean, somebody told me that didn't they just spend millions on rebranding their logo or something? I mean, that's it. Is that what they've done? I think we can see it on screen. Is that right? Have we gone from top to bottom or bottom to top? The bottom is the new one. If you're watching on screen, the one up top was black and white. The one underneath is white and grey. How much did that cost? About 5 million quid. They're a bunch of idiots, aren't they? They've got to change the logos and all the buildings, all the letterheads, all the television programmes. What's going on here? This is ridiculous, Darwin.
No, I agree. And unfortunately, the BBC are looking like they're going to refuse to actually publish how much they actually spent on that.
Of course they are. Yeah, absolutely.
Saying it's commercially sensitive.
Yeah, the thing about the BBC, I tell you what the BBC reminds me of, and I'm gonna be slaughtered, Darwin, okay? It reminds us those sort of self-satisfying left-wing journalists and politicians who look at you like you're a piece of whatever if you dare to have a different opinion. The BBC's very self-serving, isn't it? Do you not think? That's the impression that I get, to be fair.
Well, I understand the position that the BBC has, and I understand its place in British society. It is quite a historical British institution, but I also do think that it needs to go back to focusing on what it does best, really. And I think that's the news and the culturally focused programming, which is why we've recommended in our paper the part privatisation. So that would continue, that sort of content would continue to be funded by a government grant, which would allow the licence fee to be abolished and the rest of the BBC to actually go off as a commercial entity and be privatised and compete in the market as every other business does.
You'll love this. Somebody's just sent a text saying the BBC's like those middle-class gap year kids living off the bank of mummy and daddy. They don't need to justify their spending. They don't need to cut costs. They just get on with their lives without having to explain to anybody. I think that's a great analogy, to be perfectly honest. So you're calling for the scrapping of the licence fee and the sale of Channel 4. In reality, do you think that will happen?
I mean, I certainly hope so. I mean, Channel 4 in particular has been the particular focus of the government. And so I'm hoping when the Chancellor does step up tomorrow at the budget that he may announce something in that regard, especially with the privatisation. As I say with the BBC, I think it's more of a focus on getting momentum and getting the train in motion for changing the licence fee as 2027 approaches. Because as the paper we've done shows, that if there is a part privatisation, funds could be raised for the government, which could be used to give a tax cut of a £300 increase in the personal tax-free allowance, which is the amount you earn before you start paying tax. And so that, on top of the £159 abolition of the licence fee for each household would mean they've got £459 right there. That's more than enough, for example, for an Amazon, a Disney and a Netflix subscription, with plenty on the side for households to spend on other things and on other priorities for themselves.
Listen, the Taxpayers Alliance, fantastic report. Let's hope it gets through to those in government. But you have the greatest name ever. Darwin Friend, thank you for being on Talk Radio Drive. Lovely man.